There are two things that we know. We all will die. And right now, we're very much alive. What will we do today that will be remembered? That's our topic today on this episode of the Educators Among Us podcast.
Welcome to the Educators Among Us podcast, where we share motivational messages and inspiring stories for and about educators. Your host, Scott Barron, is author of the critically acclaimed book, Love 'Em and Lead 'Em, and provides powerful insights and wisdom for those who heed the call to teach, coach, lead, and serve at all levels of education.
This is Scott Barron, and I'm honored to be your host for the Educators Among Us podcast. There are, in fact, educators among us, right? Teachers, coaches, administrators, office staff, board members, counselors, facilities crew, cafeteria workers, substitute teachers, right? Substitute teachers are really loved these days because we're kind of sharing a lot of infections and other things going around, and we really need those substitute teachers. And so we're very thankful for you and the difference that you make in helping us get through some of these challenging times. So we're appreciative to all those who serve throughout our schools, different size schools, different locations, different types of schools, at all different levels. We know that educators change lives. And so that's the joy of what we do here with the school growth team, as well as with what we call Educators Fellowship, which is it's a nonprofit organization that's geared towards encouraging educators in their calling to this work, as well as in their faith, and creating that little bit of extra oomph, encouragement, and perspective is the purpose of this podcast. And we're thankful that you're a part of this, and hopefully you're able to invite some others or use some of this content as a part of the professional development or just a little bit of encouragement for those educators that are part of your circle of influence. Thank you for what you do and for your commitment to this work, because it makes a huge difference. It's Valentine's week, and we get to be really thoughtful about those people that we love, right? That we get to kind of share maybe a special message or go to dinner together or celebrate, whatever that is. And, that sometimes how we love people, how we express that love is important. And sometimes that's even in how we maintain our perspective about some of those endpoints of time, even at the end of our lives. It's an interesting thing to think about, because we often want to avoid it. It feels like it's just an untouchable topic, but it is important for us to think about our death, because we know that, just like they say, the things that we know that are inevitable are taxes and death. And so, there's some benefit to reflecting on those moments and being ready. So think about this. Tecumseh once said, "When your time comes to die, be not like those whose hearts are filled with fear of death, so that when their time comes, they weep and pray for a little more time to live their lives over again in a different way. Sing your death song and die like a hero going home." It's a powerful message, right? Being ready so that you're able to sing your death song and die like a hero going home. These are important questions that we have to consider as educators, as human beings. Are these so those bigger questions of life of how did we get here, and where are we going, and what's the purpose of all this, right? The founder of Panera Bread described in a recent article that was in the Wall Street Journal that each year he takes the time around his birthday, and we've sometimes described this as a birthday retreat, right? Takes the time to thoughtfully and thoroughly reflect on an important question, right? And the question is this: what can I do in the next 3 to 5 years that I will respect? That I'll respect when I look back from my deathbed, right? What can I do? What could happen? What could I prepare for? What could I, make happen over these next few years, that when I think back, when I inevitably will be there on my deathbed, what will I be proud of? What will I respect? Right? That's a powerful question, and it's one that he uses and has used to motivate him to do some pretty interesting things and to be quite successful in his life. And other folks have also mentioned this idea, Stephen Covey even, about begin with the end in mind. And of course, his goal here is to ensure that when that inevitable moment arrives, it isn't a surprise. He will be able to avoid the deep sense of remorse that many experience in remembrance of unfulfilled personal relationships, of unachieved goals, of unpursued dreams. Right? There is a peace that comes with that. As Isaiah 38:1 says, put your house in order. Why? Because you are going to die. It's one of those things that we just have to deal with and accept, even though it feels sometimes maybe a bit morbid or sad, but it's real, right? And that feeling the immense sadness of regret in that moment, that's a very difficult way to end our journey here. And there's no joy in that, right? But we can prevent even more heartache for family and friends by planning ahead, right? By taking care of the many details and decisions that are necessary to move forward. We know that these things are inevitable, and our preparation for them makes a big difference. Such a sobering perspective is actually beneficial. It helps us stay focused on our goals while also anticipating the distractions and the hurdles that could disrupt our goals and our plans. Being prepared, failing to consider what could go wrong, what could impede our progress, boy, that prevents us from being able to adapt, right? And to persevere through the obstacles. It makes sense to be ready for these moments of inevitability. So the idea here is, right, it's like when Erma Bombeck once said, when I stand before God at the end of time, I would hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left. It would all be gone. I hope that I would not have a single bit of talent left and could say to him, I used everything that you gave me. I used everything that you gave me. What a powerful thought that would be, right? Remembering the end goal, right? It anchors our direction. As we evaluate our available priorities, right? We all have options, right? And when we're humble enough, right? We're humble enough. We've been doing this long enough that we have to acknowledge that no one manages time. That's not an option, right? We don't manage time. Instead, but rather, we have the daily responsibility of choosing the wisest priorities that align with our purpose, because we know where we want to go. We know how we want to end, right? Setting our minds on the desired destination, it provides powerful clarity and energy, right? Perhaps the best advice, right? Perhaps the best advice is to always be doing something that will be remembered fondly, just in case we die in the midst of doing it, right? I mean, wouldn't that makes sense, right? Like, what if everything we did, we could have a confidence that if we were to die doing it, we would be proud of it. That's a lifelong lesson worth learning. So live in remembrance. Live in remembrance of the end this week, my friend, making the most of everything that you've been given, because it matters. Thank you. Thank you, because you matter. You make a difference in the lives of so many people. Your influence will not be known until eternity. But right now, because of the decisions you make, because of your influence, because of the way that you inspire others, the way that you demonstrate that commitment to your goals, that clarity of purpose, your influence really sets a pattern for others to follow. And we're thankful that you stand in that gap, that you stand ready, that you're prepared. And of course, we're moving into one of the especially in the United States, that last part of the school year is the hardest, because now a lot of things are changing. We got a lot of activities going on. We get tired, and the intensity picks up, and yet we stay focused. And yet we take care of those little things. We don't allow our attitude to slip. We don't allow our preparation to falter. We stay professional. We stay ready, and we stay loving and leading. And so thank you for your commitment to that, and love for you. Hey, if you've gotten the book, Love 'Em and Lead 'Em on Amazon, would love for you to share a review of the book there. We've gotten a lot of good feedback, and we've got some more material coming out here in 2025. We're excited to be sharing some additional messages from Educators Fellowship, and we just want to make sure that you know someone is thinking about you, someone appreciates you, and actually loves you and the work that you do. As you're going through this week, a coaching question to consider: did I do my best to live in remembrance today? Did I do my best to live in remembrance today? Love 'em and lead 'em, my friend. This is Scott.
Thank you for joining us for the Educators Among Us podcast, and for your courageous commitment to this noble calling. We get you and the challenges of this work. To stay connected with this community, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and weekly encouragement at educatorsamongus.com.